obtains his information is that he never puts him. He's in the comfort of his space. There's a level of integrity given this is just me, that you go to Farrakhan, you tell him what you think in his face, all your issues or everything you think, perspectives, you give it to him right in his face. So if he wants to smack the shit out of you, he can. If Farrakhan could have smacked Mike Wallace, but he had a level of respect for him that, this is how I feel, this is what I think, and gave him a
correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
What's up?
No, that was the energy.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong. When you're talking about someone else's issues, right, all the time, and you're never in the mix, you don't do no work to correct the situation, but you just profit off of like the demise of a group of people. I can never respect it. I don't think fucking Supreme would ever
money. That's kind of why people sit down. That's why people sit down. That's why.
Is the money life changing? Is it not ever life changing money?
Nah, but none of us are wealthy enough, Lex. I mean, except you. None of us are wealthy enough, right? None of us are wealthy enough. None of us are wealthy enough to pass, opportunities to pay bills, to pay the mortgage.
I throw it out. What's that? What happened? Is that the plane?
Is that what that is?
That might be my plane.
Make sure your interface is correct.
It is.
Okay, then you good. So So Lex, I'm saying that's why these people are sitting down. They sitting down. There are some people who obviously the same component of the streets that has always been, a value, which is making something of yourself, making your presence felt, making your name known, right? That's a simple thing. But then there's a simple thing like paying bills and taking care of yourself. If somebody's willing to pay you to tell your story, is the true goal? Do we need to create something more authentic for the streets and then hire people to go out and do that? Is that the solution?
Yes. Yeah. I think like someone like Bones Malone, like cats that we have dedicated their life to properly telling both sides and then allowing you to make the decision on how you feel about this person. We have people like that don't get the proper light. I don't know how some of these streamer turned podcasters are chosen. I don't understand it.
Money.
Well, someone's choosing them.
Yeah, but yes, that's true. Yeah.
And so why do they choose to put the money behind someone who's not really in the mix of shit? Someone who just tells the story. If that's the case, anyone could do it. It's like winning why? Why is when what's his name? When Act talks music, why do people listen? When Act talks about politics in the streets, why do people listen? And who has given him the authority, or who makes him the authority to speak on other people's shit? Like, why do they even tune into him? I'm not saying they shouldn't, or they should.
Because okay, so in Act's initial thing, right, as an early subscriber to Act's YouTube channel, right, when he was on YouTube all the time.
You were?
Sure, I was there when he was like 3,000-4,000 subscribers, like that low.
Okay.
But I remember it was access to the war in Chirac.
That's when I heard about him. I
was like, wow. It wasn't so much about him as much as him covering these stories. Remember, he broke what happened with Lil JoJo.
Mm-hmm.
He broke that. Now, I agree with you. He's not breaking it, obviously, from the trenches of Chicago or that war. But again, he's breaking news on something we're keeping up with, right? This war going on in street urban culture between a couple communities and kind of this cultural movement, right? The culture is not violence, right? The culture is how they're carrying themselves, the lingo they're using, how they're dressing, how they reference themselves, how they live their life. right? And here are these artists that are making music at the same time, and here's a war going on, and he's covering what's happening with who's doing what to who. That's how I first got on Act. So it wasn't Act that I was tripping off of as much as the brothers in Chicago going through the same thing we go through, right? But how they wrap it up, how they talk about it, how they express themselves. Damn, what's going on, right? It's no different than a soap opera. It's just real life. And he's the only person giving us information, but he's also getting Act, right? And I'm not mad at them because they were little kids. They didn't know at that time. And I mean, they were like still little kids. 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids telling him, because they're getting attention on themselves. Like people who don't feel like nothing, right? People that come from where we come from that don't feel like nothing. It's like that meme or that video you sent me from about Queens, where the dudes were saying it wasn't no jobs around here. Like, this is the way we matter. Here's why we hustling, right? And imagine that access. That's what he had on Chirac at that time. So really, we popularized him, right? The brothers, the equivalent of me in Chicago, right? Those brothers, right? The equivalent of Trap, of Lex, those brothers made us care about, like, damn, so we're tripping off him and how his style of journalism is, right? On this specific equation. He's using their lingo. He's talking like them. He's talking about drills. He's talking about ops. He's breaking the culture to us. This is how they talk. Right? And then from there, that becomes a huge thing. And then Complex gives him an opportunity, and he's sitting next to probably one of the most respected MCs in history. Now, how far upon the list Joe Budden is, but Joe Budden is pretty respected, especially at that time, Lex. Don't frown. Don't think about your time. Don't think about the 80s. Don't think about the 90s. Think about Joe Budden at that time, how he was respected.
That was dope.
No, I'm saying, but it's not just dope. I'm saying how he was respected as an MC at that time.
Yeah.
He was a premier guy. Fuck Lex. Fuck, man. He was a premier guy at that time.
That's like he had six threes in a row just then. You know what the
I'm saying he was a premier MC, and he's sitting. So here's a premier MC and kind of respected in the blog era, right? As a hip hop aficionado to a degree, right? Because it's Joe Budden, one of the original podcasters, and he's sitting next to Akademiks, right? Yeah. That lends him credence. So he goes from having access to this unique, street urban cultural movement happening in Chicago that's actually built around a war, right? So everybody love watching war. We love staying in tune on Israel and Hamas, while we all up to date on Russia and Ukraine. We all up into that. But imagine somebody was showing us the soldiers and how they talk about each other. Like, imagine we went, Lex, and we was in Russia and Ukraine, bouncing back and forth, talking to different soldiers that's getting busy in Russia and Ukraine. We're going to have the poppin'est YouTube channel. Kiss my ass. It's going to be popping. Imagine we actually showing some of the bombs and shit flying. Lex, our YouTube channel would be off the hook. Especially if we go get the culture of how they talk. Man, fuck them Russian motherfuckers. This Ukraine. Ukraine till I die, motherfucker. That would be the biggest shit on YouTube. Because we give access to a world. So that's where I say all that to say that's where his credibility comes from, Lex. His credibility is built from the streets. 1, 2, sitting next to Joe Budden. That builds his platform. That gives his platform credibility.
You just pitched a whole different show, because Ack was not going to Chicago, getting on between the two different fighting sides and airing out their stuff. He's always stayed in the middle of his Jersey home basement and did it. There's no integrity there. He can say whatever he wants. If we have a show and we go to wherever and we're showing both, that's a whole different concept, bro.
Yeah, but the difference is, right? Imagine soldiers in Hamas with Instagrams. Right? Right, on Instagram. It's Hamas troopers. Fuck Israel, man. Them motherfuckers bombed the hospital and they showing motherfucking hospitals blown up and infant legs and shit, and they talking, and then you start putting together what happened. It's the same consistent theme, except okay, problem one is our desire to be heard because we've been ignored, right? So here we are talking about what's going on in our life, right? That's our Instagram. That's what's going on in Chicago. These young boys is using their Instagram to document their experiences, to find some level of that somebody cares about them, even if it's fake. Like, I matter in this world. So I'm talking about what I'm going through. And then I follow you, right? I follow you. And then I see what happened right here. And then I follow this person, and this person, and this person. Then I gain access. We're DMing back and forth. Then we wouldn't have to go to Hamas. We wouldn't have to go to Palestine. We wouldn't have to meet the Hamas. We wouldn't, we could actually just follow the Instagram of different soldiers, right, in Hamas, that's in Palestine, and we can follow different soldiers. If imagine, what's that man name that run Israel? Pete?
Netanyahu.
Imagine Netanyahu had a burner Instagram account. He posting about what's popping. And then I follow that. And then I'm telling everybody, yeah, well, Netanyahu just sent 3 motherfucking Scud missiles down at Palestine. And then I got the actual site with the Palestine. I got the police thing. And I'm talking in the lingo of how they talk. I'm using that language, that Hebrew language. You get what I'm saying? That's the value of what it is. But it would lend credibility to me in that space. That's why this conversation is not really doing it for y'all. Y'all not fuck with this.
I think you're missing. There's 2 different currencies at play here. There's